I'm going to show you more and more Kamala Harris as this election goes on because, frankly, I think it's good that you get acquainted with the person who might actually become the president of the United States before you sign on for a long period of time. I feel like you should have to spend a prolonged period of time with this person before deciding that you'd like to hear this grating voice for another 4 to 8 years, leading the news every night. And get ready, gang. So apparently, again, she's at the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, and she said that she was in the streets again. Kamala Harris is not in the streets. She's not in the streets. What are we even talking about? She's the most white-collar person in American politics. It's ridiculous. She's a midday drinking wine mamala in the streets. Give me a break. Here we go.
Recently, I was in Nevada. I'm in these streets. Let me tell you, I'm everywhere.
I'm in these streets. By the way, they can only contain the laugh for so long. The pathological Joker laughter, it's coming back, and it's come back with a vengeance, and there's still almost 50 days left in this election cycle. She also dropped some knowledge on you, such as knowledge that children of the community are children of the community. Yeah, with the hand and the community. And the community children are children of what you might know as the community.
I grew up understanding the children of the community are the children of the community.
Oh, is that what you grew up understanding? Wow. Words of wisdom there. Very, very impressive. Meanwhile, I do love that Hillary Clinton has now become the greatest spokesperson for Kamala Harris. In a moment, I'm going to explain why I think Kamala Harris actually has a very, very, very serious problem in this election that nobody is actually talking about. One of the reasons is because she has to trot out surrogates like Hillary Clinton. So here's Hillary Clinton, who literally says it's a double standard to ask Kamala about her policies. A double standard. Why, Trump doesn't get asked about his policies? I mean, he actually gets grilled about his policies, and when he doesn't know them, people make fun of him. Kamala Harris is running around talking about how the children of the community are the children of the community. The children. Here we go. Hillary Clinton. Honestly, God's justice comes for all. And the fact that she was never president is just one of God's amazing jokes.
She's put out policies on her campaign website. Mm-hmm. Anybody who's truly interested can go and read about them. She referenced policies.
That's
she
nonsense.
Actually doesn't just have policies and concepts. She has, plans about what to do. I think it's it's a double standard, and it's a double standard that is partly because they are still getting to know her, but also because they're still grappling with the idea like, oh, am I really going to vote for a woman to be president and commander-in-chief?
She's going back to that well. Now, to her credit, Kamala isn't trying not to go to the I'm a woman, hear me roar well. Her entire campaign is based on it. It is inherently based on that, which is why all of the men who surround Kamala Harris are inherently beta submissives. That is their entire campaign persona. Doug Emhoff is doing the dumb sitcom dad from 2005. Tim Walz is doing the dumb sitcom dad coach from 2005. They're both doing the we are submissive to Kamala Harris routine. It's really off-putting. Even the media, by the way, are getting a little tired of this routine. Dana Bash, who treated Kamala Harris with kid gloves when she actually had a chance to interview her, even she was like, you know what? You could actually start a drinking game listening to Kamala Harris throw out those platitudes.
When you listen to Kamala Harris and what she will do, you can almost start a drinking game every time she says small businesses.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, when you ask what she will do, she immediately as I say, she sounds like the beginning of David Copperfield. Chapter 1, I am born. So what do you want to do about inflation? Like, well, I was born. It's like, well, congratulations to you, madam. We are now approaching the one-year anniversary of the October 7th terrorist attacks in Israel. It was a day that shook Western civilization to its core. It's a stark reminder of the evil that exists in the world and the importance of standing with our allies. Well, now the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is giving us a chance to do just that with their Flags of Fellowship initiative. It's an opportunity for us all to remember the victims, honor the heroes, pray for those still held hostage, and highlight the unwavering support of Christians for Israel and the Jewish people. On October 6th, thousands of Americans will be planting flags across the country to honor the victims of October 7th. It's a powerful visual reminder we haven't forgotten and we won't forget. Your generous donation today will not only provide a flag symbolizing your support in churchyards across America, it will also support the fellowship's ongoing emergency efforts in the Holy Land. We can't stay silent. We can't stay on the sidelines as anti-Semitism spreads like wildfire. Israel needs you right now. Visit benforthefellowship.org today. That's benforthefellowship.org. benforthefellowship.org. Israel is still under fire. Every bit of help is doing a world of good. Go to benforthefellowship.org. God bless and thank you. Abby Phillips of CNN, again, a Kamala ally. Even she's like, yeah, I haven't seen any specifics from Kamala Harris. She's just babbling nonsensically.
Black journalists today at the NABJ pressed Vice President Kamala Harris on policies from guns to the war in Gaza, but many of her answers lacked specifics, and some Democrats, like Hillary Clinton, told Kara Swisher that that's perfectly fine.
Oh, Democrats said that it's perfectly fine. I can't believe it. Why, it's almost as though she is just a face on the machine, and it doesn't matter what she says her policies are because she'll push the same policies. Now, here is the problem that I'm talking about when it comes to Kamala Harris, and it does come back to this inherent gender gap that her candidacy has created. It is perfectly obvious, by the way, from the voting of the Teamsters. So the Teamsters take a poll before they decide whether to endorse somebody. Yesterday, the Teamsters decided not to endorse anybody, which is kind of a shock because typically they support the Democrat. Well, there's an electronic poll. The electronic poll earlier in this campaign, when Joe Biden was the candidate, before that, Biden was ahead of Trump among the Teamsters, 46-37, with Robert F. Kennedy at 5%. Right, so a 9-point lead for the Democrat. With Kamala Harris in the race, here is the actual result of the electronic poll. 60 Trump, 34 Harris. A survey conducted via phone was similar. 58 Trump, 31 Harris. So what could that be? What could that be? Is that because they believe that Kamala Harris is significantly less pro-union than Joe Biden? Or is it because they believe, because it turns out that voters are multifaceted. Union members don't just vote as members of a union, they vote as fathers, they vote as husbands, they vote as people who are members of their community and their church. And they look at Kamala Harris and they say, this is a person who disdains masculinity. This is a person who's part of a broader movement that suggests that masculinity is somehow toxic and that the only type of males who ought to be emulated are goofballs like Tim Walz and doofy like her husband, Doug Emhoff, the fakest person in the campaign. A peculiar soft spot for my dislike of Doug Emhoff, given his faux Jewry, which he trots out at every possible opportunity. In any case, there is something happening that's happening under the surface. And it's sort of a reverse Obama effect. So back in 2008, people were real proud to vote for Obama. People were taking photos of themselves in the voting booth voting for Barack Obama to show all their friends how tolerant and diverse they were. With Kamala Harris, there's a certain level of embedded dislike of Kamala Harris as a politician, and people are afraid to say it because they are afraid they'll be perceived as intolerant. But when they are quietly polled by their own union members, for example, they shift their viewpoint. That is a massive swing. And that is indicative of something. And for some reason, the Teamsters swung from 37% for Trump to 60% for Trump, a 23-point swing based on the switch out of Biden to Harris. And everyone's been talking about the upsides of Harris. That Democratic enthusiasm is up. They've been talking about the upside of Harris, which is that people of color are going to vote for her with more alacrity than they would of Joe Biden. What they're not talking about is the fact that Joe Biden actually had some crossover potential with particularly white blue-collar males. And those people look at Kamala Harris not for racial reasons, but for the reason that her entire attitude is indicative of a belief in the sort of logic that Barack Obama used in 2012, that if you're a white person, you're a white dude for Kamala. That sort of attitude has a very negative implication for a lot of people in this country who don't feel comfortable with Kamala Harris. A lot of guys, by the way, who felt comfortable with Barack Obama in 2008 and didn't feel comfortable with him in 2012 when he actually lost some 3 million votes. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.